And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Sobros Network proudly brings to you some in-depth movie discussion with our resident film critic, Brandon Vick.
Happy evening, everyone. The Vick's Flicks podcast is here.
Welcome back for another episode of the Vick's Flicks podcast, right here on the Nashville Movie Dispatch. We are, of course, part of Sobros Network, recently launched our Substack. So, hey, if you're into that sort of thing, you want to support independent film coverage and all the fun that we have, go check it out, the Nashville Movie Dispatch. I'm your host for the Vick's Flicks podcast, the EIC at Sobros Network, and contributor, entertainment, and lifestyle writer for Nashville Movie Dispatch, Big Natural Stoney Keeley. You can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley, collectively at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms, joined, as usual, by the star of the show himself. He is a board member of the Music City Film Critics Association. He is a member of the Southeastern Film Critics Association. He is our resident film critic here, Mr. Big Shot, Brandon Vick. Brandon, happy holidays, my friend. How are you?
Happy holidays.
How are you feeling right now? We just launched
love Christmas.
We just launched Nashville Movie Dispatch.
Yeah.
It's the holiday season.
Yeah.
Perfect gift, by the way, is our 2024 movie annual.
Yes.
For the moviegoer in your life.
Which that was your idea, but I think we both kind of thought, why haven't either one of us thought of this?
Yeah, it's
before 2024.
It is
it's a beauty.
It's a book I'm proud of, man.
Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff. You wrote some stuff specifically for this. We got stuff from our contributor Brett, and we got McCash, and we got our friend Sean from 615 Film. We got stuff in there.
Yeah.
I think my reviews, some letterbox stuff. There's a bunch of stuff. So if you like movies, want to see what we thought, we got some top 10s, we got some superlatives in there. We tried to offer a variety of stuff. So hopefully everyone likes it. And I'm pretty sure it can fit in a stocking.
Yeah, and if you sign up to become an annual subscriber of Nashville Movie Dispatch, you get a copy of the book as one of the perks of the tier.
That's a hell of a deal.
As long as you're willing to provide us a shipping address and you are in the United States of America. Right. But still, we'll get you a copy at no cost. Otherwise, you got to go to Amazon, and you can search Nashville Movie Dispatch. You can search Stoney Keeley. And you can find that book along with the other books, the poetry books that I've written are up there as well. But quite the leap that we are taking in an effort to sort of streamline a lot of the writing and podcasting that we do here. Because, I mean, really, Sobros Network was so many things for so many years. But this is kind of a way to have the movie content delivered directly to your inbox.
Yeah, we're just honing in on
on the
good shit.
If you don't want to sort through, football studies, film studies, different kind of film study. Yeah. If you don't want the burger reviews and the videos of people falling off their roof and stuff, then you just come to Nashville Movie Dispatch.
Yankee Candle ones?
If you don't want the Yankee Candle reviews.
I think a lot of people want those Yankee Candle ones.
You can come to Nashville Movie Dispatch. All of the movie podcasts, including the one that you're listening to here, the feed will be right there directly in your inbox when the episode is published. You'll get Brandon's reviews. You'll get my reviews. We're going to have guest authors sometimes show up from time to time contributing pieces. And it's going to be a really fun community centered around the film world. Obviously, with a bit of a Nashville twist here, since we are in the Music City. But what are your feelings about it? Because we are kind of taking that leap of faith that this is something. I don't want to say we're giving the people what they want, but I think it is kind of streamlining the experience for those who come to Sobros Network for their movie content to keep up with the movie reviews, but something that is like theoretically worked so well for 11 years. But I don't know, sometimes you feel like it's time to kind of shake things up a little bit and get everything to its own place. Whereas I've had trouble describing what is Sobros Network in a single sentence, right? You have your elevator pitch. I can sum up Nashville Movie Dispatch in a single word if I have to, and that's just movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've had some internal discussions about it, and at first it kind of started off a little odd, thinking about, okay, well, how do we do this? How do we, I mean, we are So Bros Network, but how do we kind of hone in on, I guess, what we would say the strengths of what we've been able to show and kind of build.
Yeah.
Movies has definitely been a part of it. I've tried for years and years to make sure that it was on the top of the list and that nothing, there was no shortage of film content. And so,
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, it's nerve-wracking in a sense. I'm more excited than anything else because I think this is just kind of a new avenue. I think it's needed. I think it's necessary. I also think I think people that dig this kind of stuff are going to get more out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it is. I think, okay, well, how can we, if you're only looking for this kind of stuff, and obviously different perspectives, different voices, but if you're looking for movies and just ideas, opinions, and lists and all this other stuff, then yeah, let's kind of break that piece off and make it its own. And then we kind of, in a way, I think it allows us even more freedom because we can kind of just roll with what we want to do without kind of thinking, well, how does this fit in? And we also need, comedy and culture and food and football and sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
This way, it's kind of like, hey, listen, this is it. This is
just
who
movies.
we are. This is, if you don't like movies, there's other stuff out there. But if you do, it's all here. It's all in one place. And it's, like I said, I'm more excited than anything else because I think, people don't know this, but the brands had to change so many times, even though people may not have noticed. And I think this one's more noticeable. Yeah, for sure. I do think it just feels like it's a natural progression into just kind of the way that everything is,
keeping up with the world.
Yeah, the way the world works and what social media used to be and what it is now and kind of these different avenues that people have taken. There was a time where I thought podcasting was silly. You should write. And now I do more podcasts than I write. But that's part of it. People rather... There's the cold hard truth of people rather listen than read. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, personality and everything comes through when you can hear us talk than the way that you write. And also, I think usually the way you write is not the way you talk. So I'm excited. I hope everybody else likes it, enjoys it, and also just finds it easier to kind of just say, all right, guys, this is what I've been kind of looking for. And, and it's everything you'd want, everything you'd need, everything you keep up with. And we're also, I think, making it pretty easy to just say, hey, here you go. Here it is.
Yeah. And I think, people hear Substack and they automatically think, oh, well, here goes $5 more a month at least. But we're really not trying to rake anybody over the coals here and take all your money. There will be a paid option, or there is a paid option on this thing.
Yeah, wait a minute. It should be on there now.
Yeah.
But that's not what it
But you're still, as a free subscriber, you're still going to get a lot of content for free. And every now and then we will have a premium feature. Maybe it's a premium podcast that's different from the ones that we currently offer. Maybe it is an interview or a list like you talked about. Yeah. Something that's a little more off the beaten path. But for the most part, the podcasts you're going to hear are going to be directly in your inbox on Mondays. That is the plan. And then the reviews will all be free. Yeah. We're not asking for a whole lot. With an annual subscription, you get a copy of the book, our movie annual, every year as well. So
that's worth the price.
Yeah, and it's it's more about like building the community, trying something that's a little more hyper focused, and kind of trying to grow from there.
Yeah, and I think that's what when these initial talks started. That's really what we want to achieve. Mm-hmm. It's not, listen, with the stuff we offer, it's not just, like you said, to kind of take money out of your wallet. But I mean, you'll get a lot for free.
Yeah.
But you'll also get a lot
For your money.
For your money.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it is. I think it is just one of those cases where, again, I think we're able to offer a lot. I think this is really one of the categories within Sobros Network that we have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
And we've been doing a lot to build up.
Yeah.
This side of Sobros Network. So. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like movies having its own spotlight in the Nashville Movie Dispatch, and just kind of running with it, and hopefully, like I said, bringing people along with us and enjoying it, listening to it, and obviously anything that anybody wants, or that thinks that we should include them, let us know.
Yeah, I mean the Substack app has a great chat feature.
Yeah.
So
like you said, it's about community, and that's part of it too. Live in Nashville, don't live in Nashville. Either way, I think this will be I think this is going to be an exciting venture, and I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm looking forward to kind of going into this time next year and seeing what we were able to do in kind of our first year, and see.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's not going to be a perfect ride, but I do think it is something that I think Sobros Network has allowed us to do it. But I think it is something that it definitely plays to our strength, but also can, I hope, be rewarding to readers/listeners out there.
Yeah, I would agree. So that is Nashville Movie Dispatch on Substack. Go check us out, read more about the project, and get involved in our community. You mentioned social media. I think it's an interesting kind of shift in the dynamic of how people consume social media, that people are starting to flee a lot of platforms, and you are starting to see more organic growth in communities via Substack or, apps like Patreon, stuff that's out there like that. It's just, this seems to be the way the world is headed.
Yeah.
And we kind of wanted to build something out of what we do here out of that. So check us out.
I think the time is right.
I
think the time is right.
Yeah. We are here to talk about The Order, and we are here to talk about Jude Law.
Yeah.
Is there anything, I know we just wrapped up all the work on our movie annual and just trying to look at all the films at the last minute, like, okay, is there anything else that we need to squeeze into this thing?
Yeah.
And I caught, I watched The Substance. I watched A Different Man. I watched The Apprentice.
Yeah.
To try and catch up on stuff that's getting quite a bit of buzz.
Yeah.
Anything that you've seen recently that we've got to include in the conversation here? What you've been watching lately?
We went to see in Memphis A Real Pain.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
really good.
Yeah, that was really good.
Written and directed by Jesse Eisenberg. Co-stars in it with Kieran Culkin. Really well done. Really well written. I mean, it's about grief and loss and guilt, but it's the way one expresses it.
Yeah.
That really, I think, is very poignant and powerful. So that's one that immediately sticks out. I saw Clint Eastwood's new movie, which there was a little bit of controversy there because it was supposed to get kind of this rollout, this wide release, and it didn't. And then it ended up being where it was only put in 50 theaters.
Damn.
And now I think it's December 20th. It's been titled as a Max original.
No.
Yeah.
Doom
And keep in mind, this
scenario.
might be Eastwood's final movie. He's 94, 95.
Getting on up there.
Yeah.
What do they have AI implanted in his brain?
I don't know. Well,
Is he
his mom
controlled?
lived to 102.
Ah, damn. Good,
So it's in the
good for
genes, I guess.
Good for them. Yeah.
But it has Nicholas Hoult, Toni Collette, Kiefer Sutherland. It's got a nice cast.
It's a good cast.
And it's actually one of his better ones. I wasn't The Mule was fine.
Yeah.
Cry Macho, I didn't think was very good. Now, Clint Eastwood is not in this movie. He only directs it and produces it. But it's a nice little courtroom thriller. And yeah, I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. Saw Gladiator 2. That's on the latest episode of the Cinema Chronicles. Again, Gladiator is my favorite movie. Gladiator 2 is pretty good. It delivers, I think, what most people want from it. Obviously, the standout is Denzel Washington. I expect him to probably get some award consideration for Best Supporting Actor when things start to roll out. And then, of course, I saw Wicked, another one I covered on the Cinema Chronicles, and that one also was pretty good. Very visually stunning. Has a lot of good performances. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are fabulous. That's really about it. I'm trying to see Moana 2, and I'm really just holding out for, I'm hoping to see A Complete Unknown soon.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan movie with Timothy Chalamet, Elle Fanning, Edward Norton. It's directed by James Mangold, who did Logan, Ford versus Ferrari, Walk the Line, and
Good filmography.
Nosferatu.
Oh God, I can't wait
Right?
for that.
I know.
I can't wait for
We're
that.
both excited about that one.
It's like those two movies we
And
were
Craven,
talking about
right?
it. Well, A Complete Unknown and Nosferatu
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
We were talking about it. Those are films that you, like, as writers and podcasters, you put your year-end list on hold until you've seen those two.
Yes. For those two, yes.
So I'm going to hand you the reins because I haven't seen the order, and I know you want to review it before we get into a broader discussion on the filmography of Jude Law. So take it away, Brandon.
All right. So The Order, which is a new one that also has Nicholas Hoult, who's in juror number 2, Ty Sheridan, and, of course, Jude Law. Written by Zach Balan, who he wrote the newest version of The Crow, Gran Turismo, Creed 3, and King Richard. It's quite a list. And directed by Justin Kurzel, who he did some stuff with actually Michael Fassbender. He did Assassin's Creed, which was pretty forgettable, but he also did Michael Fassbender Macbeth, and that one was really good. So written by Zach Balan, directed by Justin Kurzel. This brilliantly paced cat and mouse thriller enthralls in every way. It also just so happens to feature one of the best performances of Jude Law's career. This is per Rotten Tomatoes. For over a year, a series of bold daylight bank robberies and armored car heists leaves law enforcement baffled and the public panic throughout the Pacific Northwest. As the attacks become increasingly violent, FBI agent Terry Husk, played by Jude Law, becomes convinced that the robberies are the work of a domestic terrorist gang that planned to use the loot to finance an armed uprising against the U.S. government. Based on a true story, The Order follows Husk and his team into the tangled world of white supremacists to try to head off a violent uprising that could shatter the nation. As the militia builds a war chest of over $4 million, Husk pursues the malevolent racist Bob Matthews to a final bloody standoff that will go down in U.S. history. Now, as that synopsis said, this is based on a true story, and there was actually a nonfiction book written about this in 1989 called The Silent Brotherhood. But I gotta say, this sort of sounds like 2024, especially to director Kurzel. This is per Entertainment Weekly. It's a piece called The Order Director says January 6th insurrection inspired him to make neo-Nazi crime thriller with Jude Law. He says, I was really looking to do an American film and something that felt contemporary in a way, the Australian director tells Entertainment Weekly. When he read Zach Balan's script, he says, I was really surprised that I was reading a period piece that was speaking so much to the climate that's going on today. Kurzel says he got sucked into the heist conducted by Matthews and his men and found himself deeply surprised that they ended up forming a true story based on America's first homegrown terrorist group and how close these men got to carrying out the steps in the Turner Diaries. In the film and in real life, Matthews' terrorist group was heavily inspired by the Turner Diaries, a 1978 novel by white supremacist William Luther Pierce. While written as a work of fiction, Matthews and other white supremacist leaders have attempted to utilize the book as a step-by-step guide to overthrowing the federal government. One of those final steps involves an event dubbed the Day of the Rope, in which race traitors are rounded up in mass and hung in a public execution. Says, I became really intrigued by all of that, and then January 6th happened, Curzel says, referring to the deadly U.S. insurrection in 2021. I remember seeing images of nooses hanging outside the Capitol building as props and finding real similarities to a particular chapter in the book called Day of the Rope that was describing and reenacting these politicians being hung outside the building. There were just so many similarities of what was going on within this incredible script Zach had written that I just found it so compelling and wanted to find a way into it that I felt could be a wonderful first American film. So the audience experience both sides, the neo-Nazis and the law, as we see who they are, what motivates them, and what makes them a danger, and most importantly, I think, what kind of world they want to live in. As I said, Nicholas Hoult is in this. He's exceptional, as is Law, who carries regret, obsession, and torment heavily on his back. Both men's characters sacrifice everything and will stop at nothing to finish what they started. While part conventional yet riveting crime procedural and part hard-boiled character study, The Order as a whole is brooding, gritty, intense, and regrettably relevant. The Order is out in theaters now, and I'm giving it a VixFlix rating of 4 out of 5 stars.
Well, that is a solid score, my friend. That is.
It is. It's really good. It's a thriller we don't really get these days.
Yeah.
It's simple, but it is suspenseful and it is thrilling. And even though it's based on a true story, it is exciting, it is entertaining, and I do think there is something about its relevance that strikes a chord. I don't know how it can't right now with the world, with the way the world is.
And sometimes those movies just hit at the right time.
It is.
They just
I think
drop
it is.
when you're feeling a certain way, and it really enhances the cinematic experience.
It is, yeah. I totally agree. And Jude Law is just... It's almost kind of funny because it's really what he brings to the character, because it could be kind of this cliched cop, but what Jude Law does with it and how, and kind of that inner turmoil and how it's expressed, there's something raw about that performance that doesn't make it kind of the standard, pissed off cop or bitter cop,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but great film. And again, another sensational performance from Jude Law.
It's kind of crazy. Let's get into his filmography, because it is a prolific filmography. The man's been in a lot of films.
Yeah.
I'm kind of conflicted on it as a whole, because I do feel like he's one of the most reliable actors in the game.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty steady Eddie, but I do think that I don't know how many movies that I've seen of his where I can say he's the guy in the film.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It feels like he's pretty
rarely
regularly.
He's on the poster, but he's not the only name on the poster.
Yeah, and so I mean,
so in a way, he's underrated, even though he shouldn't be. And I think a lot of people recognize when he's in it. He's like you said. I mean, it's guaranteed to deliver.
Yeah,
but when you look through some of these, or I mean, through a lot of these, he kind of, depending on who he's starring with, he kind of always seems to be on the back burner in a sense. Yeah.
And underrated is an interesting word for it. I was going to frame the question as, has he, fair or foul, has he ever really proven his chops as like a bona fide leading man?
I mean,
because I feel like he's one of those guys that is really, really good at what he does, but like he hasn't had any Oscar noms in 21 years.
Yeah.
And like he's not one of those heavyweights. Like,
yes,
do we put him in the class of like the Brendan Frasers and Colin Farrells, and even we've talked about Josh Hartnett being a name like this.
Oh, yeah.
Where like later in his career, maybe he starts to get Hugh Grant, another name. Maybe later in his career, he starts to get the respect he maybe deserves. It's hard to say that with Jude Law because it never really feels like he went away at any point.
Well, that's the thing, is that there is no kind of comeback because he's been, and the thing is, he's been doing pretty solid work basically his whole career.
Which is, I think he's a really interesting guy in the acting game.
But then parts of me thinks, does he kind of try to stay away from some? I mean, he's been in like the Sherlock Holmes movies, right?
I thought those were fun movies.
Now he's a part of MCU.
Yeah.
But
the Harry Potter, the Fantastic Beasts.
Oh, the Dumbledore ones, yeah. Or Dumbledore. He is Dumbledore, but yeah, I almost feel like it's the type that, I don't know if Jude Law equals commercial success.
Yeah.
Solely Jude Law. But I also think Jude Law gives the movie some credibility if he's in it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It'd be really hard
It's
for him to
almost
give
like
it credibility if he's not in it.
He's not praised, but I feel like in the acting world, he is respected.
So do we as audiences, as moviegoers,
yes, appreciate Jude Law?
This is going to sound crazy. Is his talent taken for granted?
I think in some situations, sure.
Yeah.
I think so. Especially depending on what movie we're talking about. I think that definitely could be the case.
Do you think he's one of these guys that we do see like at some point? Like, do you consider him in the class of guys like he's going to get his Oscar one day?
That, or he's going to be old and get an honorary Oscar.
Yeah, I do
think it's coming. And here's the thing: he could be in. I mean, well, I guess that's the case for everybody. All it takes is one film, but I feel like he's there. Like he has been, even if he wasn't nominated, the movies were nominated, or you know what I mean? Like he's always kind of been in the picture somehow, some way. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be silly to say no. He would never be nominated or never win, because I just don't think. I think the stuff he picks, I think you just never know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah. So the way we begin a lot of these conversations, I like to ask Brandon, and I'll ask you again.
Yeah.
What's the first time you remember noticing Jude Law?
If my first instant answer would be Road to Perdition.
That's mine too. Yeah.
But if I look at the years that his movies were released, then it probably would have been AI.
Yeah, that was another one that I thought of. So we're in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
here.
I mean it's
Road to Perdition
earlier.
was 2002. AI, artificial intelligence, was 2001. I do remember him in Enemy at the Gates, but it's been so long since I've seen that. I don't remember. I don't think I even saw that until it had been out for a few years.
And I'll be honest with you, but I don't think I saw it in theaters. But I do know, like, The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah,
that's when a young Matt Damon and Gwyneth Paltrow were making their way after, with Matt Damon after Good Will Hunting.
Never saw that. I never saw The Talented Mr. Ripley.
It's actually better since I've gotten older. I think I was too young to kind of see everything it was trying to do.
Well, I mean, it was 1999, so we were 13 years old at the time.
So I would just tell you that it was probably boring. But that's not the case anymore. There is a lot more going on. And obviously they've done one that has, what's his name? Andrew. He was in All of Us Strangers. There was a Netflix series called Ripley, which is the same thing. But it's more of a limited series. I got a lot of good stuff back. What's his name? Andrew Scott. I
was about to say, I have no idea.
But I have gone back and recently have watched it, and there was something that was kind of like that with The Talented Mr. Ripley. Saltburn. Saltburn is one of the most recent films that kind of is like The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Ah, okay.
He wants to. He just kind of sees his way in and becomes whoever you want him to be. That's kind of how it is. But Jude Law and Gwyneth Paltrow play the couple. Matt Damon play that. But Jude Law is really good in it. But yeah, it's a young Gwyneth and a very young Matt Damon.
So let's go back through his filmography then.
Okay.
He starts with a couple of TV movies and a short film in the early 90s. His first feature film role is Billy in a film called Shopping in 1994. Written and directed by Paul W.S. Anderson.
Oh,
yeah,
that's Resident Evil guy.
Yeah, so in 96 he's in I Love You, Not. 97 is Bent. So that's some Clive Owen in there.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
I noticed that that's NC-17.
Bent is NC-17. Huh?
Yeah. Wow. Now
Ian McKellen's in that.
Oh.
And
that's why it's NC-17. I bet.
Paul Bettany, Rachel Weisz, Mick Jagger.
Holy shit.
And I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Jamie Lannister from Game of Thrones is in it too.
Yep.
Quite the cast there.
That's a hell of a cast, but I've never heard of it.
Never saw that. Yeah. So he's in that. In 97, a film called Wild, Wilde. Is it about? Yeah, it is a biography of Oscar Wilde.
It looks like the late, great, oh my God, Michael Sheen. I was going to say the late, great Tom Wilkinson's in it, but Michael Sheen is in it. Vanessa Redgrave, Stephen Fry. Stephen Fry plays Oscar Wilde. Wow.
We got Gattaca in 1997,
Gattaca.
along with Clint Eastwood's Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
I don't even remember him in that.
Yeah. In 98, Music from Another Room, Final Cut, The Wisdom of Crocodiles. In 99, we close out the 90s with Existence, Presence of Mind, and The Talented Mr. Ripley. So this man, for 3 years straight, was in at least 3 movies a year.
Yeah, and some of them are pretty high profile. You think Gattaca, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
I mean, that's 10 film credits in 3 years.
In Existence, I actually remember that. I don't remember him being in it. But it's a big deal because that was a David Cronenberg movie.
Yeah.
But it had Jennifer Jason Leigh in Home, Willem Dafoe, Sarah Polley. It had a lot of good people in it, but yeah. Wow, he's worked with some good people even in his early days there.
Even in the early days, yeah, establishing a good foundation to build off of. So what of that slate from that decade really stands out to you? I know we've talked about The Talented Mr. Ripley a little bit, but is there anything else from this slate of films that really stands out to you?
Truly not. I mean, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, but I couldn't remember him being in it. But I do remember it.
Yeah.
And Gattaca. I do remember Gattaca, but honestly, it's been years since I've seen it. But Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman were the two that instantly come to mind. But
yeah.
But I mean, I know he plays a big part. But when I think of Jude Law, I'll be honest. The first one is Talented Mr. Ripley. The others seem to be forgotten. If you just said Jude Law, that wouldn't be.
Yeah.
The rest of the titles wouldn't really come to mind.
Into the 2000s, this feels like a heater here.
Yeah, this is where he starts to get, that name starts to really look familiar.
In 2000, he's in a film called Love, Honor, and Obey. And then in 01, you have Enemy at the Gates. Good film.
Yes.
From what I remember, I haven't watched it since I was a teenager.
I've only seen it a couple of times, but I did enjoy it. And that had Joseph Fiennes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then AI, Artificial Intelligence, Spielberg in 2001.
Yep.
2002's Road to Perdition, hell of a film. Underrated film, I think. I think
in a lot of ways it is.
It deserves to be considered among the greats of the era, and I feel like a lot of people forget about that.
I agree.
2003, Cold Mountain is a big heavy hitter performance of his. Mm-hmm. 2004, I mean, my gosh, you're talking about I Heart Huckabees, Alfie, Closer, The Aviator, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. I mean, this kind of feels like, and this run right here, is
I
kind
think
of like the height of Jude Law.
Is Lemony Snicket? That's the same year, right? I mean,
Yeah,
he plays
and
the voice
he's
of Lemony Snicket.
the narrator, isn't he?
Yeah, he is Lemony Snicket.
He is Lemony Snicket. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's that is quite the run there of some pretty successful movies.
This is when I started to really notice Jude Law. Like I said, AI, and I'll be honest, Jude Law looked familiar, but this was right after The Sixth Sense. So Haley Joel Osment, this is one of his like next projects, and I'll be honest, I have not watched this in a very long time.
We might need to revisit it.
Crazy about it.
I remember it
when
being
I watched it,
kind of boring.
I did think it was boring, but
we were younger,
right? And it is 2.5 hours. That's quite a journey.
It
had its moments, but I don't remember being a big fan of that one. Huge fan of Road to Perdition. Mostly Tom Hanks and Paul Newman, but Jude Law is phenomenal in this, and he's great in Cold Mountain. Even though I think he kind of is kind of taking a back seat to Nicole Kidman and Renee Zellweger.
Mm-hmm.
But again, great movie. Anthony Minghella directs that one. I feel like Sky Captain was kind of the first one where maybe he was you could say he headlined it.
Yeah, that was him. Who else?
Gwyneth Paltrow. Angelina Jolie.
I remembered liking that movie, but again, in the context of it's 2004 and I'm 18 years old.
I think it was more style over substance.
Yeah, sure.
I think is what it was. It was a cool movie, but only cool in the sense of I had never really seen visually.
That's a movie I'd like to
like
revisit at some point.
But yeah, I remember even thinking like it was kind of mainly known for its visuals, and I don't know about its storytelling. I think you liked it more than I did. I just remember it coming out near my birthday, and I think that's what we saw.
I never saw The Aviator, but that is
he plays Errol Flynn,
Scorsese.
But I swear to you, I don't really remember him in it, and it's only because first of all, it's almost 3 hours long, and I mainly just remember DiCaprio as Howard Hughes and Cate Blanchett because she won an Oscar.
Very well.
Yeah.
Couple years here, I'm drawing a blank on a lot of these films. Wait, was there one more you wanted to mention?
I just want to say, Closer.
Yeah.
Is fantastic. It was one of Mike Nichols' last films, and it was really good. It had Clive Owen in it as well, Julia Roberts and Natalie Portman. But I really liked his work in that, and I remember him in I Heart Huckabees. That was the David O. Russell kind of ensemble.
I was about to say there are a lot of people in I Heart Huckabees.
But I will tell you, I remember thinking Alfie was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's more of like a rom-com charmer, and it had like Sienna Miller, Susan Sarandon, Jane Krasinski, Marissa Tomei. Had a lot of really good actresses. Nia Long was in it. But I remember it kind of being fun, kind of like a snappy, breezy romance part of it. I'm looking to see a Cockney womanizer learns the hard way about the dangers of his actions.
Yeah.
But I was just talking about that the other day after seeing The Order, thinking like, I kind of thought like, oh, that's a leading man.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that film. I remember seeing it. I don't remember much about it.
Yeah.
But that's a long time ago, and that was, man. I feel like that era was like Jude Law was in everything. He was everywhere.
Yeah.
So what I was about to say is like from 2006 to 2009, he has several credits in movies that I don't really remember. I like The Holiday a lot.
I like The Holiday.
It's one of, I think, the most underrated Christmas films out there. Maybe not for like the whole family, No. But it's one that like I sit down with my wife with a nice glass of wine.
Yes.
The Christmas tree's lit.
Yes.
And
that's
we watch
what
every
Nancy
year.
Myers movies do.
Yeah, well, fair enough.
First of all.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But yes, I agree.
But he's also in a film called All the King's Men that I don't remember at all, and there are some heavy-hitting names in that one.
I remember this one, but I'll be honest, I don't remember if it was good or not, but yeah, it's got a ton of people in it.
Yeah.
like Sean Penn, Kate Winslet, Anthony Hopkins, Mark Ruffalo, Patricia Clarkson, James Gandolfini, Jackie Earle Haley, just to name a few.
Yeah. I mean, good cast. And I just don't remember it.
Yeah.
He's also in a film called Breaking and Entering, a romantic crime drama in 2006. 2007, he's in a romantic drama titled My Blueberry Nights.
I only remember that because I want to think that was... I remember Natalie Portman being in it, but I want to think that was Norah Jones's first movie.
It was Norah Jones.
Was it?
I don't know if
Okay.
it was her first movie, but she was in that one, yeah.
But I feel like it was odd, but I don't even know if I watched it all. But I do. You kind of can't forget a title like that.
He does a thriller in 2007 with Kenneth Branagh and Michael Caine titled Sleuth.
Yeah,
And I
that
don't-
doesn't ring a bell with me
remember.
either. And neither does this next one called Rage.
Rage, and it's Judi Dench.
I know,
there's
he's with and Riz Ahmed is in it.
yeah, the
Steve Buscemi.
the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, a fantasy film that I don't remember.
That's the one that they put out after Heath Ledger died, and Jude Law and Colin Farrell and them played the same part. I do remember that. It's kind of an odd movie, and I'll be somewhat forgettable, but it was Terry Gilliam, but they went in and finished it for him. Colin Farrell and Jude Law did, so they're not in it as much. But what I found more interesting, the way we were looking at it, is I totally didn't remember / forgot, maybe didn't even know who he was, but Andrew Garfield was in that movie.
Really?
Yes.
Ah, wow. And then 2009 was Sherlock Holmes, a movie that we've talked about. I know, listen, it's not some great cinematic achievement. I like those movies because they're fun, and you have two charismatic men in those roles between Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. And
it's Guy Ritchie.
It's a it's a popcorn flick.
Yeah,
and it's
That's
fun.
All it's supposed to be.
Fun to watch, but really interesting to see how that decade, the early 2000s, started for Jude Law and how it ended.
Yeah.
So what is this just a case, in your opinion, of maybe a star fading a little bit, or maybe just an actor taking some chances, taking some different choices, that sort of thing?
I mean, it could be. It might be maybe a once hopeful movie star isn't quite what they wanted him to be, or what they tried to paint him out as he was working with people like Sam Mendes and Anthony Minghella and Steven Spielberg, Mike Nichols. But I don't know if this was during the time, but he did get some shit because he cheated on Sienna Miller with the nanny.
Oh, that's right.
So there was these cheating affairs. Now, whether that affected anything, I have no idea. And honestly, I seriously doubt it. But
those things.
It does, but I feel like the Brits just get away with it.
Oh.
Here's a fine example. Hugh Grant.
Oh yeah, touche.
He's messed
we
up.
talked about him a month ago.
Remembers it.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers that.
Yeah.
So now he does kind of still stay with a little bit. I feel like now Repo Man. A lot of people probably didn't see that. I thought that one wasn't too bad. Him and Forrest Whitaker.
Well, we get into the 2010s.
Oh yeah, sorry. This is the beginning of the 2010s.
Yeah, and he goes on a run. Repo Men, Contagion, Hugo, Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, the sequel to the 2009 predecessor, obviously, 360, Anna Karenina, Rise of the Guardian, Side Effects, Dom Hemingway, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Black Sea. That gets us to the middle of the decade through 2014.
But listen, you got to think Hugo, that's Scorsese, Contagion and Side Effects, Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah, so I mean,
He's
it's
still working with some damn good people.
Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of.
Now they're not as known, and again, critically maybe successful, certainly not commercially.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like when you talk about the star sort of fading to a certain extent, Like, it doesn't really mean that he's gotten worse as an actor. Like, he's
No,
still
no,
that
no.
same level of reliability, but maybe we're not putting him on the cover of People magazine in the 2010s or that sort of thing.
Right.
But still
notice
some good
he's not
movies
taking.
in there.
I mean, he's a part of Anna Karina, and voice of Rise of the Guardians. It's an ensemble with Side Effects. It's an ensemble with Contagion. It's an ensemble with Grand Budapest. It's not until you get to Black Sea is he kind of headlining again. Which I have a movie review. A movie review of Black Sea, and it is one that should. It's some of his best stuff. I really enjoyed that one. It's directed
Scoot
by
McNairy in there.
Yeah, it's directed by Kevin McDonald. Now, what has he done? I think the big one is probably he did Black Sea. We all know that. He did State of Play.
Oh, okay.
The Russell Crowe and Rachel McAdams. He did The Last King of Scotland. That's probably the big one as far as awards contender.
Yeah.
He did do is it the Mauritanian?
Beats me, buddy.
Well, it was more of a player because it had Jodie Foster in it, Shailene Woodley, had a lot of good people in it, Benedict Cumberbatch, but yeah, it's really good. If you aren't familiar, I just want to say real quick, Black Sea had Scoot McNairy and Ben Mendelsohn. So
Ben Mendelsohn's good actor.
So there you go. And then what is it? Jodie Whittaker is in it. There's a lot of familiar faces in there. But it's in order to make good with his former employers, a submarine captain takes a job with a shadowy backer to search the depths of the Black Sea for a submarine rumored to be loaded with gold. It's quite the thriller. It's
very well.
It's good, yeah.
Wait, are there sharks in it?
You know what? I don't know.
I can't
I don't
do
think
sharks.
so.
Okay. Well, we get into 2015. He does the comedy Spy with
one of Melissa McCarthy's very best.
Yeah. Genius in 2016. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword in 2017.
Oh yeah, he was the villain in that one.
Vox Lux. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald in 2018. I like that movie. I think it kind of gets a bad rap. I think it's kind of like
Jude Law makes a great young Dumbledore.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to look at those films. It's kind of like when they did a trilogy for The Hobbit.
Yes.
After The Lord of the Rings. Like,
yes.
It's, it is what it is. It's not the equivalent. They weren't able to capture the same magic as the original series.
Yes.
But it's fun to kind of go back into that world, if you will.
Yes.
And so I thought the first one, I don't think I ever even saw the second one. The Secrets of Dumbledore. That's 2022. I'm getting ahead of myself. You mentioned the MCU in 2019. He joins in Captain Marvel.
I thought he was great in that.
I thought so too. Again, reliable. Another ensemble type of film. Woody Allen's A Rainy Day in New York. I know that's not really, we don't really talk about Woody Allen anymore. And
this was one of the first films that kind of got the shaft after Woody Allen and accusations came back again. And from his daughter. So, I had Timothy Chalamet. I mean, they had a bunch of people.
Yeah, Selena Gomez, Elle Fanning, Diego Luna, Liev Schreiber was in that. And interesting, I get the people that are kind of like, well, it's like every other Woody Allen film. It's like a caricature of every other Woody Allen film. But if you like Woody Allen films, I don't know why that's a bad thing. Like I enjoyed that film myself. And then he's in The Rhythm Section in 2020. The Nest as well.
The Nest with Carrie Coon, that was a good one.
Yeah, I mentioned the Fantastic Beasts sequel. 2023, he's Captain Hook, iconic character.
I like that Peter Pan and Wendy.
Good for you. I'm glad somebody enjoyed that.
That was David Lowery, and I'm like, he also did Pete's Dragon for Disney, and those are some of the better ones.
He does a film called Firebrand in 2023.
Yes.
And that gets us caught up to 2024, where he has The Order and a film called Eden, directed by Ron Howard.
I've heard about this one, but I don't think it'll come out till next year. But it has Ana de Armas, Vanessa Kirby, Daniel Bruhl, Sydney Sweeney.
Good gracious, what a cast.
I told you, he lines himself up with some damn good filmmakers.
So I mentioned earlier that he hasn't been nominated for an Academy Award
Right.
in
What a
quite some
shame.
time. Well, first of all,
he was nominated.
let's wrap up the filmography. Anything
Okay.
from that last decade that we just breezed through because we're starting to push
I
on
mean,
time.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Anything that stands out to you
nothing stands
after
out.
Black Sea.
Nothing stands out more than the order
Okay.
at this stage.
Yeah. So I mentioned the awards luck or lack thereof, really, over the last 21 years hasn't been nominated. He does have two Academy Award nominations, one for Best Actor and one for Best Supporting Actor. You know what those two are for?
I think
venture a guess.
One was one for Closer?
No.
It wasn't?
No.
Oh God. Okay.
No.
I thought for sure it was Closer. Supporting actor. AI.
Was not.
Oh.
No.
Okay. What was
Earlier
one of
than
them?
that.
Oh.
Best Supporting Actor for The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh shit! I should have thought of that.
And then he was nominated in the Best Actor category for Cold Mountain in 2003.
I thought he was nominated, but you know what came out of that was Renee Zellweger winning Best Supporting Actress, and a lot of people thought that was for not winning for Chicago. Yeah.
Tough scene.
Yeah.
So he was also nominated for those two performances at the Golden Globe.
That makes sense.
But he also has a third Golden Globe nomination. Again, ain't nothing happened for him in a long time.
No, poor
That
guy.
was for AI, Artificial
Oh, was it?
Intelligence, in the Best Supporting Actor
Okay.
category. He does have a BAFTA win
Thank God.
on his resume. In 1999, he won the BAFTA award for Best Actor in a Supporting Role for The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Okay.
Yeah, and out of the big awards, that's really it. I mean,
Yeah.
he
Man.
was nominated to speak of his star, so to speak, the How Brightly It Burned. In 2005, he was nominated for a People's Choice Award in the Favorite Leading Man category. So again, it's not
okay.
like a critical thing, but it is reflective of his popularity at the time.
Yeah. Well, and you look at that time period like we were talking about, and the guys that, first of all, the directors he's working with, but also the cast he's a part of, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be hard not to notice.
So,
Yep.
Brandon, the inevitable question out of all
Yes.
these discussions,
Yeah.
do you have a Jude Law Mount Rushmore?
I didn't, but I do now. And
Okay.
it would be, it's not so much his roles as just movies.
I might have two different Mount Rushmores for that.
Which
though.
I'm not saying his roles, I mean, some of them go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Okay.
After rewatching it, I don't know how long ago I rewatched it, but I did have a new sense of appreciation for it. And I get why he was probably nominated for supporting actor. Also, that was kind of, I think for a lot of people, he was kind of like, that was his breakthrough. Like, oh,
Yeah.
who is that?
Oh, this is a dude.
Yeah.
We got a dude on
Sexy.
our hands here.
Sexy.
Yeah.
I would definitely put The Order.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Through everything we've talked about,
Any
I like
chance that he gets into the Oscar conversation
Probably
this
not.
year?
probably not.
I mean, we've talked about it before.
And
Being
parts of me
kind
think
of
it's the kind of film it is.
yeah.
I just don't think it's not as showy as the other ones. It's
Yeah.
just
But we've talked about
Yeah.
this year's field being kind of wide open. Like there aren't too many people that are just
but I mean,
laying claim to a spot.
does he get in over Timothy Chalamet or Coleman Domingo or Ray Fiennes or Adrian Brody or I don't know. That's tough.
There's some hot takes out there on film Twitter about The Brutalist.
Yeah,
I don't know
well,
if you've seen those or not. But
I haven't seen him as much, but I tell you what, I like Adrian Brody.
I love Adrian
But I'm
Brody.
rooting more for Guy Pearce
Yeah.
in that movie.
Okay.
I would say Talented Mr. Ripley, The Order. If I go movie, I would say Road to Perdition. Even though I liked his character. I know he's not a main character, but he definitely plays an important one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say, I'd probably say Closer.
Okay.
Again, it's all about kind of the four main people, as I said, but I mean, he's not. Listen, he stands toe to toe with Julia Roberts, Natalie Portman, and Clive Owen, and I can't help but not think about that. It's a Mike Nichols film too. So I kind of thought about Cold Mountain would be the only other one.
I never saw Cold Mountain.
Cold Mountain's a great movie.
I missed that one.
I don't quite.
Got the book on my desk over there.
I know he's kind of like a guy that comes back from war. I would love to rewatch that, and I remember
maybe we should talk about it on Movie Review Rewind.
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
But I remember really liking the film, and so if I feel like again, role and movie, if I combine those, Closer and Cold Mountain, you could switch either one of those out, but definitely Road to Perdition, The Order, and A Talented Mr. Ripley, I feel like are solid mainstays, I think.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with Road to Perdition. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with The Holiday, which might be my favorite Jude Law movie. There's so many of these, and I think it's reflective of what we talked about with him to begin with, where it's like he's not like stealing the spotlight in any of these films, but he's just really solid in everything. So I think you can really go a number of ways, and it's difficult to pin down because some of these he's really, really good in, but it doesn't feel like it's really his movie. So he's interesting.
No, that's very true
in that regard. And I feel like maybe more than any other actor that we've done this exercise for, it feels more justifiable for Jude Law that you can be like, you know what, let's just pick the movie because we like it and we know Jude Law is good in it. So in the spirit of that, go ahead, finish your thought.
No, I was just going to say, it just hit me, and another honorable mention that's right outside that would be Black Sea.
Yeah.
I really like that one, and he is the headliner in that one, but it's quite a underwater thriller. But yeah, so okay, go on. Road to Perdition, Holiday.
In the spirit of what I just said, I'm going to put A Rainy Day in New York in there.
All right.
And listen, man, part of it is like I never saw The Talented Mr. Ripley. I never saw Cold Mountain. I never saw Black Sea.
You don't remember if you saw Closer.
Yeah, I'm going to put Sherlock Holmes in there just because
that's a fun one.
It's a fun movie.
Like, nothing wrong with that one.
I don't feel proud of that.
Yeah.
But if
there's worse. I mean, you could be like, you know what, that Rage movie.
Yeah.
Sure, which maybe it is good. Shit, I don't know. I haven't seen it. Maybe it is good.
I mean, it's not to the same level, but it's kind of like, it's not so different from being like, you know what, Pirates of the Caribbean is one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies.
Yeah. That's one of his more high profile. That and the Fantastic Beasts, and I guess now Captain Marvel. But those are like the high profile, I think, for Jude Law. But
never saw The Aviator.
But he seems to be the kind of guy that like, hey, I'll do this indie. I'm not afraid of mainstream, but you know what? I kind of think the beauty of it is that there's probably not a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
For Jude Law, you know?
Yeah.
Because Jude Law's getting work, and he'll always get work. So if Captain Marvel doesn't make that much money, Jude Law doesn't give a shit. That's not his. He's not Captain Marvel. What does he care? And actually, I think he's in what is it, the Skeleton Crew or something?
Don't know.
It's some MCU series because he's literally like doing like promos for it now. It's Skeleton something. And they're like, can he be trusted? So I think he's headlining that show.
Well,
I'm telling you, the man gets work. And I'm just amazed of the people. Like, even we're talking about like kind of those slow years. I mean, you're still talking Soderbergh and Scorsese. I mean, my God.
Mm-hmm. Any
Hugo is a good movie. I
missed that one too.
I remember him being in it, but I don't think it's enough for me to say, oh God, it has to be in the top 4. But Hugo was a good film.
So that's the end of our agenda here. Any parting thoughts before we get on out of here?
I think we just need to appreciate the man.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those that you take him out of certain films we've talked about, and they're not as good.
Yeah.
And Go see The Order. You won't regret it.
There you have it. All right. Well, he is Mr. Big Shot Brandon Vick. I am Big Natural Stoney Keeley. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Vick's Flicks podcast here on Nashville Movie Dispatch. As a reminder, go check out all of our film work, our articles, reviews, lists, podcasts, everything is up at nashvillemoviedispatch.substack.com. Join the community there. And until next time, you stay classy, moviegoers.